The Radio Forest Podcast.
New album, A View from the Top of the World. This is the first album cut in the new studio, right? But you didn't make it there?
I wasn't there. So during the writing, I was pumped into the studio via Zoom. So I was up on a big monitor screen, and then they were pumped into my studio in my house. And so everything, the instruments, everything were pumping through my studio speakers, and then they were on screen and vice versa. So that's how we went about the actual writing process. And then for when I did my vocals, I actually flew down to the studio and sang my vocals there.
Was that your first time in the new studio? How's it working?
No. So we kind of we got that place about almost 3 years ago. And so, all the renovations and that. Actually, when we were getting ready to go out for the Distance Over Time World Tour, we actually rehearsed there. That's where we did all our rehearsing. And at that point, it was still all being put together, all the renovations. Because now, we have the big warehouse at the back that holds all of our equipment. And then at the front is, the state-of-the-art studio. And then we have a big living room, a boardroom, a kitchen, a maintenance room, and then the actual rehearsal room where we can all be in there. And it's also the writing room, too, where we can all be there when we're writing anything or rehearsing for a tour or a show. So, I've been there a few times before I actually went down to do. It was my first time going there to actually record vocals for an album, though. I'd never done that.
Oh, okay.
At that studio. Yeah.
And how did you guys handle the lockdown? I know you guys are kind of in different areas, but for me, I hated working from home, and then I loved it. And then when it was time to come back, now we're back in the studios, I didn't like it, and now I love it. But I found a lot of positives, hanging out with my family a lot more. It felt like less stress. Did you guys go through anything similar like that?
Yeah, I think, we were all able to take a step back and really focus and get a clearer perspective on things that are important in life, right? And I think you nailed it, like reconnecting with your family and realizing how fortunate we are to be able to forge through such an unprecedented situation globally. And I think too, as a band, it was a very spirited reunion to go back into the studio at the height of this pandemic. We got back together in October of 20. And, it just kind of made you realize, not take for granted what you do have in life and the fragility of life and everything that we think is just going to, it's set and that's the way it's always going to remain. Well, we were reminded that isn't such the case. And I think going in with that spirited sense of saying, look who we are, look what we have. I think it really lent itself to a lot of the way that this album came out, the energy, the feel, the music itself, the lyrical content. Well, the lyrical content, I should back that up a bit. John Petrucci and I, before we went in to do any of the lyrics in that, and John Mayung, we all said, we're not writing about the pandemic. We're going to write about all the other things that make us who and what we are as human beings. There's a lot of subject matter to write about. And so I think that was also important to have that be our basis for the lyrics, is that there's going to be enough artists out there writing about our current state of affairs. We don't need to do it as well. Let's write about something else and make people feel a connection elsewhere, and maybe distract them from the inundation of a pandemic,
Yeah. I've heard you talk a couple times about some classic rock influences, which, it makes sense. Everybody probably over the age of 20 has been influenced by these bands. And even recently, I think Jay-Z was being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he talked about some of these classic rock artists, and you're like, oh yeah, everybody was influenced by them. But I've heard you specifically mention Rush, Pink Floyd, and Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin 4 turns 50 on Monday. And of course, we had the passing of Neil Peart from Rush. I don't know if you had a stronger connection, if you saw him maybe more in Canada or
of Rush. Oh my God, man. Absolutely. Rush was just something I still remember. Put it this way. I remember us, like friends of mine, and we would be cranking Farewell to Kings or 2112 before going to high school. Yeah. So we get together at my buddy's place. His parents had gone to work. We'd be cranking these songs, for us, and then go to school. But And it was the same for me. Like, you know, like you're talking about, like, oh my God, like Zeppelin 4 is how old did you say?
50.
Oh my God, man. Like, yeah. So you see, it's just kind of, yeah. I mean, hey, who can't be freaking influenced by Black Dog or rock and roll or, you know, Battle of Evermore or whatever. I mean, you know, it's funny you're mentioning that because I have a solo album coming out in May of 21. And one of the bonus tracks I did, which is really going to be exciting for people, is Ramble On.
Oh, no way. Yeah, I knew you had a solo.
Yeah.
I didn't know you covered Zeppelin.
Yeah. Well, we did one song and we covered that and it came out fantastic. And, you know, I mean, you know, let's face it. They were the metal gods of the 70s. And, you know, just each and everybody in that band was integral to who and what they were. Sure. You know, it's just unbelievable. But, you know, I loved, you know, growing up and listening to Deep Purple and, you know, seeing, you know, like Ian Gillan and even Aerosmith, you know, and like Steven Tyler and all that stuff. So there were so many bands back then that just had this I don't know, je ne sais quoi, you know, like where you were just magnetized to their chemistry. And, but yeah, definitely, you know, like with Rush being Canadian, like I am, you know, I gravitated to them immediately. And Pink Floyd and Yes and Genesis and had Metallica. I still remember hearing those guys and going, what the hell's going on here? You know, and you know, obviously a lot of people were introduced to Master of Puppets and all that, but I mean, God, man, you can go back and listen like Damage Incorporated and you hear that song For Everything That It's Worth. And you're like, holy shit. No wonder these guys, you know, took the world by storm. Such a cool tune. But yeah, so for sure. Yeah.
Hey, last question. I know we're running out of time. How's the relationship with Mike Portnoy?
I haven't spoke to Mike, and to be quite honest, since he left the band. So I think that pretty much says it all.
I think that sums it. Up. James LaBrie, A View from the Top of the World. It's the brand new Dream Theater album. It's their 15th studio album. They've got a 20-minute song. I'd love to see if you guys can break into that live. Congratulations, man, on the new album. And when's your solo release coming?
In May of 22. Yep.
James LaBrie, thanks for the time today, man.
Thanks, Forrest. Appreciate it, man.